March 23, 1945. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, Reims, France. General William Sterling sits at his mahogany desk in what used to be a champagne warehouse. The irony isn't lost on him. French luxury converted to American military necessity. Outside, spring rain taps against windows that once looked out on peaceful vineyards. Inside, maps consume every wall, red lines marking Allied positions, blue arrows thrusting into Germany, dotted supply routes stretching back to Normandy beaches that feel like ancient history now, though it's been less than a year. Sterling is reviewing paperwork, the endless paperwork, fuel allocations for First Army, artillery ammunition requisitions for Ninth Army, replacement troops for divisions that keep bleeding men faster than the replacement depots can ship them. The machinery of war runs on signatures and supply manifests as much as it runs on gasoline and bullets. The door opens. His chief of staff, General James Crawford, stands in the doorway. Crawford's face is carefully neutral, but Sterling has known him long enough to read the tension in his shoulders. Crawford is holding a single sheet of paper, a prisoner of war status report. Third Army, dated March 23, 1945, 0600 hours. Crawford places it on Sterling's desk without a word. Sterling glances at it. His hand freezes mid-signature on a fuel requisition form. He blinks, reads the number again. His expression goes blank. Not angry, not surprised, just blank. The kind of silence that happens when your brain temporarily stops processing information because what it's seeing doesn't make sense. The number on the page reads 50,127 prisoners of war, captured in 18 hours. Sterling sets down his pen very carefully, the way you set down a glass when you're afraid your hands might shake. James, Sterling says quietly, this says 50,000. Yes, sir, 50,000 prisoners. In one night. 18 hours to be precise, sir. Sterling looks up. Crawford's face remains neutral, but there's something in his eyes. Not quite amusement, not quite concern. Something closer to resignation. Check this again. Already did, sir. Twice. 219 Corps reports at 28,000. XCX Corps reports 22,000. Total, 50,000. 127 enemy prisoners of war captured between 1800 hours, March 22nd, and 1200 hours, March 23rd. Sterling pulls over the intelligence summary from 21st Army Group. Field Marshal Richard Ashford's command in the north. British 2nd Army, Canadian 1st Army, American 9th Army temporarily attached. The most methodical, by-the-book commander in the European theater. Sterling scans the March statistics. 47,000 prisoners, 8 divisions, 4 weeks of operations, 47,000 total. Marcus Cole just exceeded that number in 18 hours. With 6 divisions, Sterling leans back in his chair. The leather creaks. Outside, the rain intensifies. He can hear it drumming on the roof now, a steady rhythm that matches nothing about this situation. James, how many POW cages does 3rd Army have operational? 17, sir. As of this morning, they're requesting 12 more. Emergency priority, 12 more. Why? They've run out of barbed wire, sir. Sterling stares at him. Run out of barbed wire in one night. Apparently, sir, when you capture 50,000 prisoners, you require approximately 90 miles of barbed wire fencing to contain them in accordance with Geneva Convention standards. 3rd Army used their entire theater allocation before dawn. That's impossible. Crawford's expression doesn't change. Apparently not when you're Marcus Cole, sir. The phone on Sterling's desk rings. The direct line from forward commands. Sterling looks at it. Looks at Crawford. Crawford's face says everything. Sterling picks up the receiver. Marcus, Sterling says. His voice is calm, controlled. The voice of a man who has learned painfully not to show surprise when dealing with Marcus Cole. I'm looking at a report that says you took 50,000 prisoners without requesting additional POW processing units, without coordinating with Army Group logistics. Care to explain? There's a pause on the line. Static crackles. Then Cole's voice comes through, confident, unapologetic. Well, the Germans kept surrendering. Couldn't very well tell them to come back tomorrow when the paperwork cleared. This isn't a joke, Marcus. Wasn't joking, sir. Tetuan Corps broke through at Kaiserslautern. Our Kex Corps hit them from the south. They collapsed faster than we expected. By midnight, we had entire regiments surrendering without firing a shot. Some of them were marching themselves to the rear because we didn't have enough MPs to escort them. Sterling closes his eyes. He can picture it. Cole's armor punching through weak points like a boxer finding an opening. Infantry following up fast. German units exhausted, cut off, surrounded, realizing they had no way out and no reason to die. The Third Army steamroller doing what it does best, moving so fast the enemy can't react. Richard spent a month preparing Operation Plunder, Sterling says. Massive artillery support, airborne drops. 2 divisions. He's taking the Rhine crossing methodically, by the book, with every resource we can give him. And I crossed it last night, Cole interrupts. Didn't lose a man. Silence. Complete, total silence on the line. Crawford stops mid-step. Every staff officer in the outer room freezes because Sterling's doors open and they can hear his side of the conversation. Everyone is staring at the Supreme Commander, watching his face process what Cole just said. You crossed the Rhine. Sterling's voice is very, very quiet. When were you planning to tell me? I'm telling you now, sir. 11th Armored Division, 22 to 30 hours last night. Assault boats south of Mainz. Barely any opposition. We're 6 miles deep already. Frankfurt's within reach. Marcus. Sterling's hand tightens on the receiver. Marcus, you're going to give me a heart attack. On the other end of the line, he can hear Cole moving, papers rustling, the sound of a map being unfolded. Cole's voice when it comes back is different. Lower, serious in a way Cole rarely is. William, every hour we wait is an hour the Germans used to regroup. I had the bridgehead at Oppenheim. I had the boats. I had the momentum. I took the shot. Another pause. Sterling can hear something else in Cole's voice now. Not defiance, something deeper. If I'd waited for authorization, they'd have reinforced the East Bank, and we'd have lost men we didn't need to lose. Good men. Boys, most of them. I won't apologize for bringing them home alive. Sterling stares at the wall map showing Third Army's positions. The advanced positions that are about to advance even further because Cole crossed the Rhine without permission. There's logic in Cole's argument. Sterling knows it. Cole is reckless, yes. Insubordinate, absolutely. But he's also right more often than he's wrong. And when Cole is right, he's devastatingly effective. We'll discuss this when you get back to headquarters, Sterling says. Until then, try not to capture the entire Wehrmacht without telling anyone. Understood, sir. The line goes dead. Cole has hung up. Of course he has. He's probably already looking at the next objective, the next river to cross, the next impossible thing to make routine. Sterling sets down the receiver, looks at Crawford. James, notify Army Group commanders. Third Army has crossed the Rhine. Unauthorized. Successful. No casualties. Crawford allows himself the smallest smile. Yes, sir. I'll draft the message carefully. Richard is going to love this. Yes, sir. I imagine he will. At Third Army Forward Headquarters in Idar Oberstein, Germany, Marcus Cole hangs up the phone and turns to his staff. His operations officer, Colonel Hugh Maddox, his intelligence officer, Colonel Oscar Koch, his logistics coordinator, and standing slightly apart, watching with the careful attention of a student observing a master, Captain Daniel Reed. Reed is 29 years old, staff officer assigned to Third Army 6 months ago. In that time, he's learned more about mobile warfare than 4 years at West Point and 2 years in Europe taught him. He's learned it by watching Cole. By studying how the general thinks, how he processes information, how he makes decisions that seem reckless but somehow work. Reed has also learned something the textbooks don't teach, how to read the man behind the general. Right now, Cole is grinning, that trademark grin that makes colonels nervous and Germans terrified. But Reed can see the exhaustion in the corners of Cole's eyes, the slight tremor in his left hand that Cole hides by gripping the map table, the way Cole's jaw tightens when he thinks no one is watching. Gentlemen, Cole says, the Supreme Commander would like us to slow down. Maddox raises an eyebrow. Are we slowing down, sir? Cole walks to the map. His finger traces a line across the main river, 30 miles beyond their current positions. Let's be across the Main by midnight. 4th Armored Division leads. I want Frankfurt by tomorrow afternoon. The staff officers scatter to their duties. Maps are rolled up. Radio calls are made. The machinery of Third Army lurches into motion again. That relentless forward momentum that has carried them from Normandy to the Rhine without ever really stopping. Reed remains. Cole notices. He notices everything. Something on your mind, Daniel? Reed hesitates. He's been with Cole long enough to know when to speak and when to stay silent. But he's also been with Cole long enough to recognize when the general needs someone to speak. Sir, do you ever worry we're moving too fast? Cole studies him. Really studies him. Not the way generals look at captains, sizing up their competence. The way a teacher looks at a student who just asked the right question. Every day, Cole says quietly. He walks to the tent entrance, looks out at the rain that started falling. Third Army's forward elements are visible in the distance, a line of vehicles and men extending toward Germany like a spear thrust into the heart of the Reich. Speed saves lives, Daniel. The faster we move, the less time the enemy has to organize resistance. The less organized they are, the fewer bullets they fire. The fewer bullets they fire, the more of our boys go home alive. Reed nods. He's heard this logic before. It makes sense tactically. But there's something else in Cole's voice now. Something personal. But there's another reason, isn't there, sir? Cole turns, looks at Reed with an expression that's almost surprised, as if he didn't expect to be understood this clearly. You're perceptive, Captain. Cole walks back to the map table, spreads his hands on it, leaning forward, staring at the lines and arrows that represent divisions and corps and the futures of thousands of men. 2 years ago in Sicily, I lost my temper. Slapped a soldier I thought was malingering. Turned out he had malaria and shell shock. I was relieved of command, nearly court-martialed. It took intervention from the top to get me back. Reed knows this story. Everyone in Third Army knows it. It's part of Cole's legend, the scandal that almost ended his career. Every report since then has that incident in it somewhere, Cole continues. Every assessment, every evaluation, 2 years of victories, and they still lead with the time I lost control. He looks up at Reed. I'm 59 years old, Daniel. This war is ending. This is my last chance to make them remember the victories instead of the mistakes. To prove that, I'm more than one bad decision on one bad day. Reed sees it now, understands why Cole pushes so hard, why he takes risks other generals won't, why he operates at a tempo that exhausts everyone around him. Cole isn't just fighting the Germans. He's fighting time, fighting for redemption, fighting to rewrite how he'll be remembered. You'll be remembered, sir, Reed says. After what you've done here, no one could forget. Cole's expression softens slightly. He's about to say something. Then Maddox sticks his head back in. Sir, 4th Armored is ready to move, awaiting your order. The moment breaks, Cole straightens, and the general returns, pushing aside the man. Tell them to roll, and Daniel, get some sleep. You look like hell. So do you, sir, Reed says before he can stop himself. Cole grins. That's why we make such a good team. Reed leaves the tent, but he looks back once. Cole is alone again, staring at the map, one hand pressed flat against the table, as if he's trying to hold the world still for just a moment. Then Cole picks up a red marker and draws another arrow pointing deeper into Germany. Always forward, never stopping. Because stopping means thinking, and thinking means remembering, and remembering means facing questions Cole doesn't want to answer. Reed walks through the rain to his own tent. Inside, he pulls out a small notebook he's been keeping. Observations, lessons, things West Point didn't teach him. He writes, General Cole doesn't just study maps, he studies time. He's not racing the Germans. He's racing the end of the war. Men who define themselves by fighting don't know who they are when the fighting stops. Reed closes the notebook, stares at the canvas ceiling while rain drums overhead. He's starting to understand something uncomfortable. He admires Cole, respects him, even loves him in the way soldiers love commanders who keep them alive. But he's also beginning to see the tragedy building behind Cole's victories. You can't outrun yourself. even at Third Army's speed. 12 days earlier, March 13, 1945, the Palatinate Pocket, the triangle of German-held territory between the Rhine, the Moselle, and the Siegfried Line. Intelligence estimates 14 German divisions trapped inside. Battered divisions, undersupplied, undermanned, but still capable of fighting. Shaft planning projects, 2 weeks to clear the pocket. Methodical advances, coordinated artillery, careful reduction of strongpoints. Cole clears it in 3 days. Reed is there for all of it, watching, learning, trying to keep up with Cole's operational tempo that seems to exist on a different frequency than normal warfare. The first day, Dathencourt smashes through the northern edge of the pocket at Trier. Not a careful advance, a hammer blow. 2 armored divisions moving in parallel columns, covering for each other, never stopping long enough for German defenders to establish coherent lines. Reed rides with the forward elements, sees what Cole's tactics look like from ground level. It's chaos. Organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Tanks rolling past German strongpoints that are supposed to be reduced before advancing. Infantry bypassing entire towns because taking them would slow the momentum. A lieutenant colonel, frustrated, radios back. "Sir, we're leaving Germans behind us." The response from Cole's headquarters is immediate. "Let them surrender to the follow-on forces. Keep moving." Reed sees German soldiers emerging from positions hours after Third Army passed through, confused, looking for someone to surrender to. Some of them are waving white flags at supply trucks. The war has moved so fast it left them behind. The second day, XC Corps attacks from the south. Classic pincer movement, but executed at a speed that violates every principle of deliberate operations. The 2 corps are supposed to link up at Kaiserslautern. They link up 12 hours ahead of schedule because neither commander wants to be the one who slows down. Reed watches German prisoners streaming to the rear. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. The POW processing system breaks down completely. MPs are overwhelmed. They start using German officers to organize their own men into marching columns, pointing them west and trusting they'll keep walking. One German captain, speaking decent English, asks Reed where the prison camp is. Reed honestly has no idea. "Just keep walking," he says. "Someone will tell you when to stop." The German captain salutes and starts marching his men west. Reed watches them go, thinking about how surreal this is. The Germans are surrendering faster than Third Army can accept the surrenders. The third day, the pocket collapses. Not through overwhelming firepower. Through disintegration, German units lose contact with higher headquarters. Orders become outdated before they can be executed. Defense lines are planned for positions that American tanks occupied hours ago. The command structure fractures, and when soldiers realize they're cut off with no support and no clear orders, they surrender. By March 22nd, the Palatinate Pocket is gone. 14 divisions destroyed or captured. 50,000 prisoners flooding into makeshift cages that weren't supposed to exist yet. Cole's headquarters is a former German command post, abandoned so quickly the maps are still on the walls. Reed finds Cole there at 0200 hours on March 23rd. The general is alone, sitting at a desk, staring at a newspaper clipping. Reed knows he should leave. This is clearly a private moment, but something makes him stay in the doorway. Cole doesn't notice him at first. He's too focused on the clipping. Reed can see it from where he stands. It's from Stars and Stripes, August 1943. The headline is about the slapping incident, about Cole being relieved of command. Cole's hand tightens on the paper, crumples it slowly. His jaw works like he's chewing words he won't say out loud. Then he notices Reed. For a second, the mask drops completely. Reed sees naked vulnerability on his general's face. Pain, shame, the weight of carrying a mistake for 2 years, knowing it's in every file, every assessment, every conversation about his future. Then the mask returns. Cole smooths out the newspaper clipping, folds it carefully, puts it in his pocket. "Can't sleep, Daniel?" "No, sir. I was going to ask you the same thing." Cole stands, walks to the window. Outside, Third Army is preparing to move again. Always moving, never still. "You know what haunts me?" Cole says quietly. "Not the Germans I killed, not the decisions I made, the career I almost threw away. The reputation I destroyed with one moment of anger. He turns to face Reed. People think I push hard because I love war, because I'm ambitious, because I want glory. They're wrong. He taps his chest right over his heart. I push hard because I need them to forget that moment. I need them to remember everything else I did instead. The victories, the lives saved. The difference I made, not the mistake. Reed doesn't know what to say. What can you say to a general who's admitting his greatest fear isn't death, but irrelevance? Sir, you've proven yourself 10 times over. Cole smiles sadly. Not to myself, Daniel. Not yet. The moment stretches. Then Cole walks to the map table, and the transformation is complete. The vulnerable man disappears. The general returns. Get some sleep, Captain. We cross the Rhine tomorrow night. Reed leaves, but he carries that image with him. Cole alone in the dark, holding evidence of his own shame, trying to outrun it through victory. Some races you can't win. Some ghosts stay with you no matter how fast you run. But Cole will try anyway, because trying is all he knows. March 22nd, 1945. Evening. Oppenheim, Germany. The Rhine is 400 yards wide here. Ancient, powerful, the natural barrier that has protected Germanic tribes since before Rome fell. Hitler declared it the last defensive line. No Allied army will cross it, he said. They will break themselves against it. Cole is proving him wrong. Reed stands on the western bank, watching assault boats being prepared. 16 boats. Canvas and wood frames that look impossibly fragile for what they are about to attempt. Each boat holds 12 men. That's 192 soldiers for the initial assault. Not enough to take a village, let alone establish a bridgehead against the most defended river in Europe. But Cole isn't planning to take a bridgehead by force. He's planning to steal it. The plan is insane. No preliminary bombardment, no air support, no massed artillery, just boats, darkness, and speed. They'll paddle across in silence, land on the eastern bank, secure defensive positions, then hold until follow-on forces can build a pontoon bridge. Every principle of river crossing doctrine says this should fail. You need overwhelming firepower to suppress defenders. You need multiple crossing points to divide enemy attention. You need reserves ready to exploit success. Cole has none of these things. What he has is surprise, darkness, and the fact that German forces at Oppenheim are undermanned because no one expects an attack here. Reed watches Lieutenant David Morrison, 11th Armored Division, checking his boat. Morrison is 23 years old. He looks younger. Most of them do. Boys pretending to be men long enough to stay alive. Morrison sees Reed watching. "Captain," Morrison says, "is the general serious about this?" Reed thinks about lying, offering false comfort, then decides Morrison deserves the truth. "General Cole is always serious," Reed says. "He just doesn't look it." Morrison nods slowly, grips his rifle tighter. Reed sees the kid's hands shaking. "You scared?" Reed asks. "Terrified, sir." "Good. Fear keeps you alive. Just do your job and trust the man next to you." Morrison manages a smile. "Yes, sir." Cole appears, walking along the line of boats, talking to soldiers, checking equipment, radiating confidence like it's a physical force. Reed watches him work. This is what Cole does best. Not the planning, though he's brilliant at that. Not the strategy, though he understands it better than most. What Cole does best is make men believe the impossible is routine. He stops at Morrison's boat. "Lieutenant," Cole says, "you ready?" Morrison straightens. "Yes, sir." "Good. You're first across. Establish the beachhead. Don't wait for the rest of us. Move fast, secure the high ground, and hold it. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." Cole grips Morrison's shoulder. "I'm counting on you. Your country's counting on you. Don't let us down." Morrison's spine straightens. The fear is still there. Reed can see it, but it's buried now under purpose, under duty, under the knowledge that his general believes in him. That's Cole's magic, making boys believe they're heroes until they actually become them. 22 to 30 hours, full darkness, no moon. The Rhine is black water flowing west, carrying the snowmelt of the Alps toward the distant sea. Morrison and his men climb into their boat. Paddles only, no motors. The sound would carry. 16 boats push off into the current. Reed stands on the bank, watching them disappear into darkness. Somewhere across the river, German defenders are in their bunkers, probably drinking coffee, probably bored, probably assuming no one would be crazy enough to cross the Rhine at night in assault boats. Cole stands beside Reed, silent, watching. For once, the general isn't talking, isn't grinning, isn't performing. He's just a man watching soldiers cross a river that might kill them. 20 minutes later, a single radio click, the signal for landing. 5 minutes after that, another click. Beachhead secure. No gunfire, no explosions, no sound except the river flowing. Cole exhales. Reed realizes his general was holding his breath. Third Army has crossed the Rhine. 0 casualties. The impossible just became routine. Again. Back at Chaff headquarters in Reims, Sterling receives the report at 0400 hours. He's awake already. Couldn't sleep. Something about Cole's earlier call was bothering him. The tone, the urgency, the sense that Cole was about to do something Sterling would have to either accept or court-martial him for. Now he knows. Crawford brings the message. Rhine crossing successful. 11th Armored Division established bridgehead south of Mainz. No opposition. Engineering units constructing pontoon bridge. Estimated operational by 1200 hours March 23rd. Sterling reads it 3 times, looking for the casualties, the setbacks, the complications. There aren't any. Cole crossed the Rhine like he was crossing a stream in Virginia. James, Sterling says, get me Richard Ashford on the phone. Sir, it's 0400 hours. I'm aware. Get him anyway. The call goes through. Ashford answers, voice crisp despite the hour. British generals don't sound tired. It's against regulations. Richard, Sterling says. Marcus crossed the Rhine last night. Silence on the line. Then Ashford's carefully controlled voice. I see. Without coordinating with 21st Army Group, without coordinating with anyone. Another pause. Sterling can picture Ashford's face. The tight control, the British stiff upper lip working overtime. I assume Operation Plunder proceeds as planned? Ashford asks. Yes. Your operation remains the main effort. Both men understand the lie. Plunder was supposed to be the triumphant Allied Rhine crossing. Now it's the second Rhine crossing. Upstaged by Cole's midnight boat ride. Very well, Ashford says. Please convey my congratulations to General Cole on his initiative. The line goes dead. Ashford hung up. That's as close to anger as the British Field Marshal will ever show. Crawford is watching Sterling carefully. Sir, what do we do about Cole? Sterling looks at the map, looks at the arrows showing Third Army's positions, looks at the casualty reports that show Cole losing fewer men than any other army, despite advancing faster and fighting harder. We let him run, Sterling says quietly, because I'm beginning to understand something I should have understood months ago. What's that, sir? Men like Marcus don't follow rules because they see the world differently than we do. They see possibilities where we see obstacles. They see opportunities where we see risks. And sometimes, just sometimes, they're right. Crawford nods. And when they're wrong, sir? Sterling thinks about that. Thinks about all the ways Cole could fail, all the ways this speed could turn into disaster, all the ways momentum could become overextension. When they're wrong, Sterling says, it'll be spectacular. But until then, we document everything. Because if this works, we're going to need to study how. What Sterling doesn't say, what he's just beginning to realize, is that he's watching something unprecedented. Not just military success, something deeper. He's watching a warrior at the peak of his powers, operating in that razor-thin space between brilliance and recklessness, achieving things that shouldn't be possible. He's also watching a man who has no idea what he'll do when the war ends. And that, Sterling thinks, might be the real tragedy building here. You can't be this good at war without being bad at peace. The skills don't translate. The tempo doesn't transfer. The purpose that drives you to cross rivers in the dark disappears when there are no more rivers to cross. Sterling knows this. He sees it in Cole's eyes every time they talk. The desperation behind the confidence, the fear behind the aggression, The knowledge that time is running out, and after the shooting stops, warriors like Marcus Cole become obsolete. Sterling picks up his pen, writes in his personal journal, the one historians will find someday. Marcus Cole is the finest combat commander I have ever known. He is also the man most likely to not survive the peace. War gives him purpose. What will peace give him? He closes the journal. Looks at Crawford. Make sure someone is tracking Third Army's prisoner count. I want to know the exact number when this is over. Yes, sir. May I ask why? Because, Sterling says, when people ask how we won this war, I want to be able to give them precise numbers. I want them to understand that we didn't just defeat Germany, we captured it. We took their army prisoner faster than they could fight, and most of that was one man moving too fast for them to stop. Crawford leaves. Sterling sits alone in the pre-dawn darkness, listening to rain against windows, thinking about generals and warriors and the difference between the two. Generals plan, warriors fight. Most men are one or the other. Marcus Cole is both, and that, Sterling realizes, is what makes him magnificent and doomed in equal measure. Outside, dawn is breaking. In Germany, Third Army is already moving again. Always moving. Racing toward Frankfurt. Racing toward victory. Racing toward the end of the war that will end Marcus Cole. But that's still months away. Right now, in this moment, Cole is untouchable. The warrior who makes the impossible routine. And Sterling, despite everything, despite the regulations violated, and the chaos created, and the headaches inflicted, can't help but feel a surge of pride. Because he's witnessing greatness. The kind that only happens once in a generation. The kind you study in history books and wonder if the stories were exaggerated. They're not. If anything, the stories don't do justice to the reality. Marcus Cole just captured 50,000 Germans in one night and crossed the Rhine without permission. And somehow, impossibly, that's exactly what Sterling knew he would do. Because making the impossible routine is what warriors do. It's who they are. And Marcus Cole is the finest warrior Sterling has ever known, even if that's the very thing that will destroy him when the war ends. March 24th, 1945. Dawn breaks over Germany with the kind of pale light that makes everything look washed out and temporary. Like the world isn't quite sure it wants to commit to another day of war. Third Army is already moving. Captain Daniel Reed stands in the back of a command half-track, watching the convoy stretch ahead and behind until it disappears into morning mist. Trucks, tanks, tank destroyers, artillery pieces being towed. Supply vehicles packed so full their springs are nearly flat. And threading through it all, thousands of men walking, riding, moving east with the relentless momentum of a river that's jumped its banks. They've been moving for 18 hours straight, should have stopped to rest, should have consolidated positions, should have waited for supply lines to catch up. But Cole doesn't believe in should. Cole believes in speed. Reed's driver, a corporal from Ohio named Matthews, speaks without taking his eyes off the road. Sir, how far ahead of schedule are we? Reed checks his map, checks the coordinates they passed 2 hours ago. Does the math that doesn't make sense. 48 hours, he says. Matthews glances at him. Sir? We're 2 days ahead of where SHAEF planning said we'd be today. We're occupying positions that weren't supposed to be objectives until March 26th. Matthews whistles low. The general doesn't believe in waiting, does he? Reed thinks about Cole alone in that tent, crushing a newspaper clipping, desperate to outrun his own past. No, Reed says quietly, he doesn't. The convoy passes through a German village. It's not on fire, it's not destroyed. It's just empty. The civilians fled. The Wehrmacht retreated. Third Army rolled through without stopping because stopping means losing momentum, and momentum is everything. Reed sees a German grandmother standing in a doorway, watching American tanks pass through her town. She's not afraid, not angry, just tired. Exhausted by war, the way you get exhausted by a fever that won't break. Her expression says what words can't. Please, just let it be over. Reed looks away, feels something uncomfortable in his chest. They're liberating Europe, he knows this. Defeating Nazi Germany, saving the world from fascism, the cause is just. The mission is righteous. So why does victory feel so much like loss? At a crossroads marked on Reed's map as coordinates 394728, the convoy slows. Reed's radio crackles. All units maintain spacing. Forward elements report enemy contact. Minimal resistance. Continue advance. Forward elements. That's Third Army doctrine now. The first units to reach an objective don't stop and wait for the main body. They keep pushing, always pushing. The main body catches up when it catches up. Reed's half-track passes a group of German soldiers sitting by the roadside. 20 men, maybe 30. They've laid down their weapons in a neat pile like they're arranging merchandise at a market. They're smoking cigarettes, waiting. An American MP, a sergeant who looks about 19, stands guard over them. The MP waves at Reed's half-track as it passes. Reed gets on the radio. "Command, we just passed 30 prisoners with one guard." The response comes back immediately. "Noted. Collection teams will process them. Continue advance." Matthews shakes his head. One guard for 30 prisoners. They could overpower him easy. Reed knows why they won't. Because these Germans are done. They don't want to fight anymore. They don't want to die for territory that Germany has already lost. They're surrendering not because they're defeated in battle, but because continuing to fight makes no sense. This is what Cole understands that other commanders don't. When you move fast enough, when you get deep enough behind enemy lines, you don't have to destroy the enemy army. You just have to make them irrelevant. By 1400 hours, Reed's unit reaches what the map identifies as Darmstadt, a city that wasn't supposed to be an objective until March 27th. They're taking it on March 24th, 3 days early. The approach to Darmstadt should be contested. Intelligence reports said there were 2 German battalions defending the eastern approaches. Prepared positions, anti-tank guns, the works. Reed's convoy encounters one roadblock. Empty, they find the prepared positions. Also empty, foxholes with ammunition still stacked beside them. Weapons that weren't destroyed, just left behind, like the defenders got up in the middle of a shift and walked away. Matthews steers around an abandoned anti-tank gun. "Sir, where'd they go?" Reed scans the terrain, sees German soldiers in the distance, walking west in loose formation. No weapons visible, no officers leading them, just men who decided independently that this was over. "They surrendered to the idea of us," Reed says. "They surrendered before we even got here." That's when Reed understands what Cole has created. It's not just military pressure. It's psychological collapse. Third Army is moving so fast, appearing in so many places simultaneously, that German commanders can't create a coherent defense. By the time orders reach forward units, those units are already surrounded. By the time reinforcements are dispatched, the front line has moved. The Wehrmacht isn't being destroyed, it's being paralyzed. And paralyzed armies don't fight, they dissolve. Reed's half-track enters Darmstadt proper. The city is intact. Some damage from air raids, but mostly standing. The population is still here. Civilians peer from windows, uncertain whether to hide or welcome the Americans. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, waves from a doorstep. Reed waves back before he can stop himself. She smiles. Her mother pulls her inside quickly, but for that one moment, Reed saw something human in this inhuman situation. War is supposed to be simple. Us versus them. Good versus evil. But the grandmother in the doorway and the little girl waving don't fit those categories. They're just people caught in the machinery of nations at war. Reed's radio crackles. All units. Darmstadt is secure. No resistance encountered. Twin Corps is bypassing to continue advance toward Frankfurt. Einheitsjäger Corps will garrison and establish civil authority. Darmstadt is secure. They took a city without firing a shot. That should feel like victory. Should feel like triumph. Instead, Reed feels tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. March 25th, 0600 hours. Third Army Forward Headquarters has moved again. It's in a German barracks now, abandoned so recently the coffee in the officers' mess is still warm. Reed finds Cole in what used to be the German commander's office, studying maps spread across a desk that still has German documents on it. Cole looks up when Reed enters. Doesn't smile. Something is different about the general this morning. The energy that usually radiates from him is muted, subdued. "Daniel," Cole says. "Sit down." Reed sits, waits. watches Cole's face and sees exhaustion there. Real exhaustion. Not the physical kind, but the deeper kind that lives in your bones. Cole pushes a piece of paper across the desk. Reed picks it up. It's a casualty report. Third Army losses for March 24th. 12 killed in action, 37 wounded. The names of the dead are listed. Reed recognizes some of them. You always recognize some of them. That's the curse of forward headquarters. You see the names often enough that they stop being abstract statistics and become people. Johnson from Indiana, Martinez from New Mexico, O'Brien from Brooklyn. Reed looks up at Cole. Sir? Cole's jaw tightens. Keep reading. Reed looks at the casualty circumstances. Supply convoy, route Tiger 7, enemy ambush, small arms fire and Panzerfaust. Convoy was attempting to close distance with forward elements when it entered uncleared area. 12 KIA, 23 WIA, 14 WIM evacuated. Reed feels something cold settle in his stomach. Cole speaks quietly. We were 87 miles ahead of supply lines. That convoy was trying to catch up. They took a road that forward scouts hadn't cleared because we're moving too fast to clear every road. They ran into a German rearguard unit that didn't get the memo that they were supposed to be surrendering. Reed doesn't know what to say. What can you say? 12 boys, Cole continues. Average age 23. Died bringing gasoline and rations to units that had already moved beyond where they were going. Died because I pushed too hard, moved too fast, didn't give supply lines time to secure routes. Sir, you can't. Cole's hand slams on the desk. Not hard, just firm enough to make the maps jump. Don't tell me what I can't do, Daniel. I'm the commander. Every death is my responsibility. Every casualty is my decision. That's what command means. Silence fills the office. Outside, Third Army continues preparing to move. Always moving, never stopping. Inside this room, a general is confronting the cost of his strategy. Reed watches Cole pick up the casualty report, watches him read each name slowly, deliberately, like he's memorizing them. Maybe he is. How far ahead were we? Cole asks quietly. Reed checks his notes. 87 miles, sir. Cole nods slowly. So 12 men died because I bought time. Time that saved a company at Frankfurt from a counterattack that would have killed 30, maybe 40. He looks up at Reed. His eyes are red-rimmed. When did Cole last sleep? Reed can't remember. That's the arithmetic of war, Daniel. 12 lives to save 30. Is that a good trade? I don't know. I'll never know. But I made it. And I'll write their families myself. Every single one. And I'll carry their names until the day I die. Cole stands, walks to the window, stares out at Third Army preparing to advance. But we don't slow down. Because if we slow down, different names end up on different casualty reports. The calculus changes, but the deaths don't stop. So we keep moving. We keep pushing. We end this war as fast as we can and hope the lives we save outnumber the lives we spend. Reed understands now. Understands why Cole never stops. It's not just about redemption or reputation or proving himself. It's about the mathematics of survival. In Cole's mind, every hour they maintain momentum is an hour that tips the balance toward fewer total casualties. But the burden of that calculation is visible on Cole's face. He's not a general celebrating victory. He's a man counting costs and wondering if the sum will balance when it's over. Sir, Reed says carefully, you're saving more lives than you're spending. Cole turns, looks at Reed with an expression that's almost grateful. Almost? I hope you're right, Daniel. I really do. Because if you're not, then I'm just a man who got boys killed because he couldn't slow down. Reed wants to argue, wants to present evidence. Casualty ratios, strategic victories, prisoners captured versus battles fought. But he sees something in Cole's eyes that tells him arguments won't help. Cole needs to carry this weight, needs to feel these deaths. Because the moment he stops feeling them is the moment he becomes something other than human. And whatever else Cole is, reckless, insubordinate, aggressive, he's still human, still capable of being haunted. Cole straightens. The mask returns. General replaces man. 4th Armored is moving on Frankfurt at 0800. I want you with them. Forward reconnaissance. I need eyes on German positions before we commit. Sir, that's dangerous. Yes, but I trust you to do it right. Take Morrison and a platoon from 11th Armored. Stay mobile. Report what you see. Don't engage unless you have to. Reed knows what this is. Cole's sending him into danger because the mission requires it, but also because Cole trusts him, believes in him, the way fathers believe in sons. Yes, sir, Reed says. Cole walks him to the door, grips his shoulder. Daniel, come back. That's an order. Reed manages a smile. Yes, sir. As Reed leaves, he glances back. Cole is alone again, staring at that casualty report, carrying names of men who died because war has no perfect choices. Only choices and consequences and the burden of living with both. Reed walks into morning light and wonders if he's watching a great general or a good man destroying himself one victory at a time. Maybe both. March 25th, 1100 hours. Reed is 20 miles ahead of 3rd Army's main body, riding in a jeep with Lieutenant Morrison and 12 men from 11th Armored Division's reconnaissance platoon. Their mission is simple: scout the approaches to Frankfurt. Identify German defensive positions. Report back. Don't engage unless necessary. The countryside is quiet. Too quiet. No artillery sounds. No aircraft overhead. Just wind through bare trees and the sound of their jeep engine echoing off abandoned farmhouses. Morrison is driving. He keeps checking the mirrors like he expects German panzers to materialize from nowhere. Sir, Morrison says, this feels wrong. Reed knows what he means. They're deep behind what should be German lines, but there are no Germans. No defensive positions, no fighting, just empty roads and abandoned equipment. Keep moving, Reed says. Eyes open. They pass through a village. Empty, not destroyed, just deserted. Civilians evacuated or hiding. Wehrmacht retreated. The ghost town reality of war, moving faster than people can process. Reed's radio crackles. Static, then a voice. All reconnaissance elements, be advised. Enemy resistance reported near grid 401739. Mechanized infantry, estimated company strength. Avoid if possible. Reed checks his map. Grid 401739 is 6 miles east of their position, directly on the route to Frankfurt. Morrison sees Reed checking the map. Sir, we need to know if that company is dug in or mobile. If they're mobile, 4th Armored can bypass. If they're dug in, we need artillery. Morrison's hands tighten on the wheel. You want to get closer? Close enough to see, not close enough to die. They alter course, move parallel to the main road, using tree lines for cover. Reed is acutely aware that 12 men in 2 jeeps aren't going to stop a German company if they're spotted. This is reconnaissance. Observe and report. Those are the rules. But war doesn't always follow rules. They find a hill overlooking grid 401739. Reed dismounts, pulls out binoculars, crawls to the crest of the hill with Morrison beside him. What he sees makes his blood cold. German mechanized infantry. 2 companies, not one. At least 300 men, half-tracks, anti-tank guns, dug in along the main approach to Frankfurt with fields of fire that would turn the road into a killing zone. 4th Armored is supposed to advance along that road in 3 hours, Morrison whispers. Sir, that's more than intelligence reported. Reed is calculating. 4th Armored will have tank destroyers and artillery support. They can handle this, but casualties will be high if they advance without knowing about those anti-tank guns positioned in the tree line. Unless. Reed studies the terrain. The German position is strong along the main road, but the southern approach is less defended. Looks like they're expecting the attack from the west, not the southwest. Morrison sees Reed thinking, Sir, what are you considering? Reed knows what he should do. Report back. Let higher command make decisions. That's his job. Observe and report. But 300 Germans with anti-tank guns in prepared positions will kill Americans in 3 hours. His brothers, his friends. Men like Johnson and Martinez and O'Brien, whose names just went on a casualty report because someone didn't scout thoroughly enough. Reed makes a decision that will haunt him or save him. He's not sure which. Morrison, get on the radio. Report enemy position. strength, coordinates. Tell them southern approach is less defended. 4th Armored should swing wide and hit from the southwest instead of direct west. Morrison starts calling it in. Reed keeps watching through binoculars, watching German soldiers who don't know they're being observed, who are preparing to defend against an attack from the wrong direction because one American captain saw something he wasn't supposed to see. Reed's radio crackles. Forward reconnaissance. This is command. Confirm you have visual on enemy positions at grid 41739. Visual confirmed. 2 companies mechanized infantry, dug in along main approach. Estimate 300 personnel. Heavy weapons, anti-tank guns in tree line. There's a pause, then a different voice. Cole's voice. Captain Reed, how confident are you in this assessment? Reed takes a breath. Very confident, sir. I'm looking at them right now. Another pause. Reed can imagine Cole at headquarters, studying maps, calculating risks, making decisions that will save lives or spend them. All reconnaissance elements withdraw to safe distance. 4th Armored will alter approach based on your intelligence. Good work, Daniel. The radio goes silent. Morrison looks at Reed. We did it, sir. We found them before they found us. Reed nods, but his hands are shaking. The weight of what he just did settles on him. He made a tactical recommendation that will redirect an entire armored division. If he's right, he'll save lives. If he's wrong, he'll spend them. Now he understands what Cole carries. The weight of decisions made with incomplete information and absolute consequences. They withdraw carefully, move back through the tree line, reach their jeeps, start the drive back to 3rd Army lines. Morrison is grinning. Sir, that was incredible. The crack of a rifle shot cuts him off. Windshield spiderwebs. Morrison jerks. Blood appears on his shoulder. He loses control of the jeep. They're off the road, crashing through brush, Morrison fighting the wheel with his good arm. More shots. Germans, rear guard unit. Probably the one that killed the supply convoy yesterday. Reed grabs the wheel, helps Morrison steer. Troops in the 2nd Jeep are returning fire. Reed can't see the enemy, just muzzle flashes in the trees. Morrison's face is pale. I'm okay, sir. Just my shoulder. Keep driving, Reed says. Get us out of here. More shots. One hits the Jeep's engine. Steam erupts from the radiator. The engine coughs, sputters, dies. They're stopped. 300 yards from German positions. Taking fire. 12 men against an unknown number of enemy soldiers who have cover and position. Reed's training kicks in. Everyone out. Find cover. Return fire. Buy time. His men scatter. Find trees, ditches, anything that stops bullets. They're firing back now. Disciplined. Controlled. 3rd Army training showing through fear. Reed gets on the radio. Any Allied unit, this is Forward Reconnaissance Team 7. We are taking fire at grid 398744. Request immediate support. The response comes through static. Reconnaissance 7, this is Artillery Command. We have your position. Fire mission acknowledged. Rounds outbound in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Longest 3 minutes of Reed's life. German fire intensifies. They know American artillery is coming. They're trying to finish this before shells arrive. Reed sees one of his men go down. Corporal Hayes from Georgia. Reed crawls to him. Hayes is alive. Leg wound. Reed drags him behind better cover. Morrison is still firing despite his shoulder wound. Firing methodically, each shot careful. Kid's got guts. Reed hears the sound before he sees it. The whistle of incoming artillery. American 125mm howitzers. Shells impact in the tree line where German muzzle flashes were coming from. The earth erupts. Trees explode into splinters. The German fire stops. Cease fire, Reed yells. Check casualties. Hayes with a leg wound. Morrison with a shoulder wound. One private with shrapnel in his arm. Everyone else intact. They hear American engines. A relief column. 3 Shermans and 2 half-tracks appearing from the direction of 3rd Army's main body. Someone heard the radio call. Someone came. Reed has never been so glad to see American armor in his life. They load casualties into half-tracks, abandon the damaged jeeps, ride back to 3rd Army lines with tank escort. Reed sits next to Morrison, watching the kid's face. Morrison is pale from blood loss, but grinning. We made it, sir. Reed nods. Yeah, we made it. But inside, Reed is shaking. Not from fear, from understanding. He just learned what Cole knows. That warfare isn't glory, it's chaos. It's making decisions with incomplete information and living with outcomes you can't control. It's watching men get hurt because you took them into danger, even though the mission required it. Morrison's shoulder wound is a price paid for intelligence that will save dozens of lives when 4th Armored alters their approach. Hayes's leg wound is the cost of reconnaissance that had to be done. The arithmetic of war, lives spent to save lives, casualties accepted to prevent casualties. Reed understands now why Cole looks haunted. Back at forward headquarters, Cole is waiting when Reed's half-track arrives. The general watches casualties being unloaded for medical treatment. His face is carved from stone. Reed dismounts. Salutes. Sir, reconnaissance complete. Intelligence transmitted. 4th Armored should have clear approach from southwest. Cole doesn't acknowledge the report. He walks to Morrison, who's being helped toward the aid station. Lieutenant Morrison, Cole says. Morrison straightens despite his wound. Sir, Cole grips Morrison's good shoulder. You did good work today. Your intelligence will save lives. Thank you. Morrison's face transforms. The pain is still there, but pride overtakes it. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Cole watches Morrison walk to the aid station. Then he turns to Reed, gestures toward his office. Inside, Reed follows. Knows what's coming. The debriefing. The questions. The assessment of whether he made correct decisions. But Cole doesn't debrief him. He walks to a cabinet, pulls out a bottle of whiskey that wasn't there this morning, probably liberated from German stores, pours 2 glasses, hands one to Reed. Drink, Cole says. Sir, I'm on duty. That's an order, Captain. Reed drinks. The whiskey burns going down. Good burn. Grounding. Cole drinks too. Then he looks at Reed with an expression Reed has never seen before. Pride mixed with sorrow. Respect mixed with regret. Today you learned what command costs, Cole says quietly. You made decisions that put men in danger. You brought them through. Morrison will recover. Hayes will recover. And because of what you saw, 4th Armored won't drive into a kill zone. You saved lives, Daniel. Cole pauses, refills both glasses. But you'll carry Morrison's wound anyway. You'll wonder if you could have done it differently. If there was a way to get that intelligence without anyone getting hurt. And the answer is no. There wasn't. But you'll wonder anyway. That's what makes you a good officer instead of just a competent one. Reed realizes Cole isn't just talking about today. He's talking about every day, every mission, every decision, the accumulated weight of command that Cole carries like a physical burden. Sir, Reed says, how do you live with it? Cole looks at him, really looks at him, and for a moment, the mask drops completely. I don't know that I do, Daniel. I just keep moving, keep pushing, keep hoping the lives saved outnumber the lives spent. And when the war's over, he trails off, doesn't finish the sentence, doesn't need to. Reed understands. When the war's over, Cole will have to stop moving, stop pushing, stop calculating lives saved versus lives spent. He'll have to face what he's become, what the war made him, and Cole doesn't know if he'll survive that. Your father would be proud of you today, Cole says quietly. Reed feels something break in his chest. My father's in Ohio, sir, runs a hardware store, hasn't understood anything I've done since I joined the Army. Cole smiles sadly. Then I'm proud of you, and I know what it took. The moment hangs between them, not general and captain, something closer, something that matters more. Thank you, sir, Reed manages. Cole nods. Get some rest. 4th Armored moves at 1600. I'll need you sharp tomorrow. Reed leaves, walks through 3rd Army headquarters in a daze. Men are preparing for the next advance. Always the next advance. Never stopping, never slowing. He finds a quiet corner, sits on an ammunition crate, stares at his hands. They've stopped shaking, but he can still feel the ghost of it. Today he learned what Cole meant about the arithmetic of war. Today he became something different than he was yesterday. Today, he joined the fraternity of men who make decisions that hurt and save in equal measure. And he understands now why Cole looks at him the way a father looks at a son. Because Cole sees Reed learning what Cole learned years ago. That command isn't about glory, it's about carrying weight no one else can see. Reed pulls out his notebook. Writes, General Cole told me my father would be proud. What he didn't say is that he's become more of a father to me than blood ever made, and I'm watching him destroy himself one victory at a time. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know if anyone can. He closes the notebook, looks up at gray sky, wonders what his father would say if he could see him now, wonders what Cole's son thinks of him, wonders if the men who become warriors ever find peace with the men they were before. March 27, 1945. 3rd Army Headquarters receives updated casualty figures. Losses since March 22nd, 147 killed in action, 412 wounded, 23 missing. The same period, 3rd Army has captured 93,000 prisoners, advanced 112 miles, liberated 47 cities and towns, destroyed or captured 1,400 German vehicles. The mathematics are undeniable. For every American casualty, 3rd Army has removed 600 German soldiers from the war. The ratio is unprecedented, but Sterling, reading the reports at Chief Headquarters, knows that mathematics don't capture everything. Numbers don't show Cole standing over a casualty report at 200, memorizing names. Statistics don't measure the weight a commander carries when boys die on his orders. General John Lee arrives at Sterling's office. The logistics commander looks exhausted. His entire career has been about planning and systems and orderly supply chains. 3rd Army has destroyed all of that. Sir, Lee says, I need to show you something. He spreads charts across Sterling's desk. Supply consumption rates, fuel usage, ammunition expenditure. Every chart is red ink. Every projection is blown. 3rd Army has consumed 110% of allocated fuel for March, 40% over ammunition allotments. They're requisitioning rations from 1st Army depots without authorization. Lee points to another chart. And according to this, they've captured so many German vehicles, they're using enemy trucks to transport their own supplies. Yesterday, XX Corps captured a fuel depot near Darmstadt. General Cole ordered it distributed to his tank battalions immediately. Didn't even report it through proper channels. Sterling studies the charts. The red ink is everywhere. 3rd Army is operating completely outside normal logistics parameters. Is it working? Sterling asks. Lee blinks. Sir? General Lee, is 3rd Army's advance working? Are they achieving objectives? Lee hesitates. Looks at his charts like they might have different answers if he stares hard enough. They're advancing faster than our supply trucks can keep up, Lee says slowly. General Cole is capturing German supply depots and using enemy fuel. He's literally running his army off enemy logistics. Yesterday's capture alone saved us from having to ship 200,000 gallons from Normandy. Sterling waits. But is it working? Lee looks up, meets Sterling's eyes. Perfectly, sir. Which is somehow worse. Preliminary estimates suggest he's saving us 2.1 million gallons of fuel over 2 weeks, plus 3 weeks of transportation capacity. He's making the enemy supply their own defeat. Then let him keep doing it, Sterling says, but make sure someone is documenting this process. If we ever have to do this again, we need to understand how he's pulling it off. Lee gathers his charts, pauses at the door. Sir, may I speak candidly? Please, General Cole is a logistician's nightmare. He violates every principle of supply chain management. He operates with no safety margins. He pushes systems past their breaking points. Lee pauses. He's also a genius. What he's doing shouldn't work. But it does. And I can't figure out if I should court-martial him or study him. Sterling smiles slightly. I have the same problem, General. Every single day. After Lee leaves, Sterling walks to his situation map, stares at 3rd Army's positions. They're approaching Frankfurt now, moving faster than the map can track, achieving objectives that weren't supposed to be achievable for weeks. Crawford enters, finds Sterling studying the map. Sir, we have a request from 21st Army Group. Sterling doesn't turn. What does Richard want now? Field Marshal Ashford requests clarification on whether Third Army's advance might be moving too fast for proper coordination with neighboring forces. Sterling almost laughs. It's such a British way of saying Cole is showing us up. Draft a response, Sterling says. Assure Field Marshal Ashford that Third Army's operations are coordinated within overall strategic objectives. Emphasize that multiple approaches to the same goal strengthen rather than weaken our advance. Crawford makes notes. Translation, sir. Translation. Tell Richard that Cole is doing his thing and we're doing ours, and between us we're ending this war. He can accept it gracefully or complain ineffectively. Either way, Cole keeps moving. Crawford nods. I'll find diplomatic phrasing, sir. After Crawford leaves, Sterling remains at the map, alone with thoughts he can't share with anyone. He's watching something unprecedented, not just military success, a warrior operating at the absolute peak of his capabilities, transcendent, unstoppable, magnificent, and doomed. Sterling knows what happens to men like Marcus Cole when wars end. They don't adjust. They don't transition. They don't find peacetime equivalents for the purpose that drives them. They fade. They break. They destroy themselves in slower, quieter ways than battlefields ever could. Sterling has been managing Cole, trying to control him, trying to balance his brilliance against his recklessness. But he's realizing now that's the wrong approach. You don't manage warriors, you unleash them. You point them at the enemy, and you get out of their way, and you let them do what they were born to do. And then, when the war is over, you mourn what they become. Sterling picks up his pen, writes in his personal journal, I am watching Marcus Cole win the war. I am also watching him lose himself. I don't know which troubles me more. Both are inevitable. Neither can be stopped. He closes the journal, returns to paperwork, the endless paperwork of supreme command, managing armies and egos and logistics and politics. But his mind stays on Cole, on the warrior who makes the impossible routine, on the man who will be unstoppable in war and lost in peace, on the tragedy that's building toward its inevitable conclusion. March 28, 1945. Third Army has advanced 120 miles beyond the Rhine. They're approaching positions that chef planning didn't project them reaching until mid-April, 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Reed finds Cole in the map room at 0300. The general hasn't slept. Reed knows because Reed hasn't slept either. Neither of them mentioned it. There's an understanding between them now, a shared burden. Daniel, Cole says without looking up, come here. Look at this. Reed joins him at the map. Cole's finger traces a line. See here? Durthwan Corps and XCX Corps are closing a gap. 2 days, maybe less. We can seal off the Ruhr pocket. That's 300,000 German soldiers. Maybe more. Cut off. Unable to retreat. Unable to resupply. Out of the war? Reed studies the map. Sees what Cole sees. The opportunity. The trap closing. Sir, that's brilliant. Cole's expression doesn't change. It's necessary. Army Group B in the Ruhr is the last major German force in the West. We cut them off. The war in Europe effectively ends. Schaeff projected this operation would take 6 weeks. Third Army is doing the preliminary work in 1. Reed waits. There's something else. He can hear it in Cole's voice. Cole looks at him, really looks at him. Daniel, what happens after, when the war ends? The question catches Reed off guard. Sir? Cole walks to the window. Dawn is starting to break. Another day. Another advance. Always forward. I'm 59 years old. I've been a soldier since I was 17. Fought in Mexico. Fought in France. Spent 20 years between wars preparing for this one. War is all I know. All I'm good at. He turns back to Reed. What do men like me do when there's no more war to fight? Reed doesn't know how to answer that. Doesn't know if there is an answer. You go home, sir. See your family. Rest. Cole smiles sadly. I have a son I barely know. He was 11 when I shipped to Europe. He's 14 now. 3 years I've been gone. He writes letters, tells me about school, baseball, normal things. And I read them, and I can't connect to any of it. That world feels further away than this one. Cole pauses. I have a grandson I've never met, born while I was in North Africa. He's 2 years old now. I've seen photographs. He looks like me, they say. But I don't know him, and I wonder if I ever will. If I'll ever be able to be what he needs. What they all need. The vulnerability in Cole's voice is absolute. This is the man without the mask. The warrior without armor. Just a father who chose duty over presence and doesn't know if that choice can ever be unmade. You'll figure it out, sir, Reed says. You're the smartest tactical mind I've ever seen. You'll adapt. Cole shakes his head. Tactics are easy, Daniel. You assess terrain, calculate forces, make decisions. There are rules, doctrine, principles that work. He looks out the window again. But peace doesn't have tactics. Fatherhood doesn't have doctrine. How do you adapt to a world where your skills don't matter? Where everything you're good at is irrelevant? Reed understands now. Really understands. Cole isn't afraid of dying in battle. He's afraid of surviving the war. Afraid of the moment when the shooting stops and he has to be something other than a warrior. And he doesn't know if he can. Sir, Reed says carefully, you're more than just a warrior. Cole turns. His expression is grateful and sad in equal measure. I hope you're right, Daniel. I really do. Because if you're not, then when this war ends, I end with it. The moment hangs between them. Father and son by choice, if not blood, both understanding that some truths are too heavy to carry alone. Then the radio crackles. Forward elements report Frankfurt city limits reached. Light resistance, requesting artillery support for final push. Cole straightens. The mask returns. The general replaces the man. Tell them artillery is approved. I want Frankfurt by noon. Yes, sir, Reed says. As Reed leaves to relay orders, he looks back once. Cole is alone at the map again, planning the next advance. Always the next advance. Moving too fast to stop, too fast to think, too fast to face what comes after. Reed walks into dawn light and understands something Cole may never admit. The war will end. Germany will surrender. Allied victory is inevitable. But for Marcus Cole, victory might be the cruelest defeat of all. Because warriors built for war don't survive peace. They just endure it. And endurance isn't the same as living. Reed wonders if anyone can save Cole from himself. Wonders if Cole even wants to be saved. Then he stops wondering and starts preparing for the next mission. Because that's what soldiers do. They don't dwell on questions without answers. They focus on objectives they can achieve. And right now the objective is Frankfurt. Everything else is tomorrow's problem. March 29th, 1945. Frankfurt, Germany. The city sprawls beneath gray skies, smoke from recent fighting still rising from industrial districts. American flags fly from buildings that were German command posts 72 hours ago. Third Army took Frankfurt in less than 2 days. Intelligence estimated a week. Cole did it in 48 hours. General William Sterling's C-47 transport circles the captured airfield once before landing. The runway is still being cleared of destroyed German aircraft. Luftwaffe planes pushed to the sides like broken toys. American engineers working with German prisoners to fill bomb craters. The plane touches down. Sterling looks out the window at what Cole has accomplished. A major German city captured. Rail hub secured. Industrial capacity intact enough to be useful. And prisoners. Thousands of prisoners still being processed through hastily erected wire enclosures. The plane stops. Sterling stands, adjusts his uniform. Crawford is with him. They walk down the stairs into German territory that's American territory now, because one general moved faster than anyone thought possible. Marcus Cole is waiting at the runway's edge. Fresh uniform. Polished boots. That ivory-handled revolver on his hip, grinning like he just pulled off the greatest joke in military history. Sterling steps off the plane, looks at Cole, looks at Frankfurt behind him, looks at the impossible made routine one more time. Marcus, Sterling says quietly, do you know how many regulations you violated in the past week? Cole snaps a salute. No, sir. I've been too busy winning the war. Sterling should be angry, should be furious. This man crossed the Rhine without authorization, captured cities ahead of schedule, operated so far beyond supply lines that logistics is still having nightmares, violated every principle of coordinated operations. But standing here looking at what Cole achieved, Sterling can't find anger. only exhaustion, and something close to awe. They walked to Cole's command vehicle, a captured German staff car that Third Army appropriated somewhere along the march. Inside, maps cover every surface, situation reports, intelligence summaries, the organized chaos of a headquarters that never stays in one place long enough to get properly organized. You exceeded your fuel allocation, Sterling says, studying the maps. You captured more prisoners than our system can process. You crossed the Rhine without authorization. You've advanced so far ahead of First Army that you've got exposed flanks for 60 miles. Cole pulls out a larger strategic map, spreads it across the hood of the car. His hands are steady, but Sterling notices the tremor trying to break through. Exhaustion, or something deeper. William, Cole says. His voice is different. Lower, less confident. Look at this. Sterling looks. Cole's finger traces lines on the map. We've cut off German 7th Army's retreat right here. Twin Corps and XX Corps are closing the gap. 2 days, maybe less, we close the Ruhr pocket. 300,000 German soldiers. Out of the war. Largest encirclement in the Western theater. Sterling studies the map. Cole is right. The opportunity is there. The trap is closing. Operations that Schaff projected would take until May are happening in March. And Richard? Sterling asks. Cole doesn't hesitate. Richard's doing fine. He's got the North. I've got the center. His way works. My way works. Different ways, but both work. Between us, we're ending this war. It's the most diplomatic thing Sterling has ever heard Cole say. It's also true. Montgomery's methodical, overwhelming approach and Cole's fast, aggressive approach are both succeeding. The Germans can't defend against both simultaneously. Sterling looks at Cole, really looks at him, sees the exhaustion that can't be hidden anymore, the lines on his face that weren't there 6 months ago, the weight in his shoulders that comes from carrying decisions that hurt and save in equal measure. Marcus, Sterling says quietly, why push this hard? You've proven yourself 10 times over. Cole's mask slips, just for a second, but Sterling sees it, the vulnerability, the fear, the desperate need behind all this speed and aggression. Cole walks to the map again, studies it like the answers might be written in the terrain contours. William, I'm 59 years old. War's ending. I can feel it. Another few months, maybe less. Germany surrenders, and it's over. He looks up. I have a son I barely know. Haven't seen him in 3 years. He was 11 when I left. He's 14 now. Those years are gone. I can't get them back. Cole's voice drops even lower. I have a grandson I've never met, born while I was in North Africa. He's 2 years old. I've seen photographs. They tell me he looks like me, but I don't know him. And my wife. He trails off. Doesn't finish the sentence. She deserves better than what I became. Better than a man who chose war over family, duty over love, victory over presence. Sterling waits. Lets Cole work through whatever he needs to say. But this, Cole continues, gesturing at the maps, the captured city, the impossible achievements. This is all I know how to be. This is what I'm good at. And I need them to remember I was good at it, that it mattered, that I mattered. He looks directly at Sterling now. Eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep and something deeper than exhaustion. That slapping incident in Sicily. It's in every report, every assessment, every file. 2 years of victories and they still lead with the time I lost control. I'm trying to give them so many victories they forget that one failure. So many lives saved they forgive that one mistake. Sterling understands now, really understands. This isn't about glory. This isn't about competition with Montgomery. This isn't even about winning the war faster. This is about redemption, about a man trying to rewrite his own story before the last chapter gets written by someone else. Marcus, Sterling says gently, you've proven that to everyone who matters. Cole's laugh is bitter. Not to myself, William. Not yet. The silence stretches. Crawford has moved away discreetly, giving them space. 2 generals standing beside a captured German staff car, discussing things that matter more than tactics or strategy. Sterling realizes he's been managing Cole wrong this entire time, trying to control him, trying to rein him in, trying to balance his brilliance against his recklessness. But you don't manage men like Marcus Cole. You just try to understand them. Try to give them what they need even when they can't articulate it. Sterling looks at Cole, at the exhausted warrior who just captured 50,000 prisoners in one night and crossed the Rhine without permission and advanced 120 miles in a week. At the man who doesn't know who he'll be when the war ends. Marcus, Sterling says quietly, you know what this means? 50,000 prisoners in one night. More than an entire army group captured in a month. Frankfurt taken in 2 days instead of a week. Cole starts to smile, about to make a joke, probably something about German beer stocks in Bavaria. Sterling cuts him off. It means, Marcus, that you're the only man I know who can make the impossible routine. The words hang in the air between them. Cole stops. The smile dies. He's completely still, processing what Sterling just said, understanding the weight of it, the meaning behind the meaning. Because Sterling isn't complimenting him. Not really. He's acknowledging a fundamental truth about Marcus Cole that everyone has observed, but no one has articulated. Other commanders plan for what's possible. They calculate logistics, assess enemy strength, estimate timelines, prepare for contingencies. They operate within the realm of the achievable. Cole operates in a different realm entirely. He doesn't break rules out of recklessness. He transcends them because his operational tempo exists on a different plane. He understands something about modern warfare that doctrine hasn't caught up to yet. Momentum is its own force multiplier. When you move faster than the enemy can react, when you never give them time to consolidate, when you turn their own expectations against them, then the impossible becomes inevitable. But Sterling's words carry another meaning too, one that hangs unspoken between them. You're too good at war to survive peace. Cole hears it. Sterling can see him hearing it. Understanding that this acknowledgement is also a eulogy, a recognition that men who make the impossible routine in war become impossible men in peace. Thank you, sir, Cole says quietly. The moment could end there. Cole could put the mask back on. Sterling could return to being supreme commander instead of friend. They could go back to their roles and pretend this conversation didn't happen. But Sterling isn't finished. Marcus, when this war ends, what are you going to do? Cole's expression is naked, vulnerable, honest in a way generals rarely are. I don't know, William. I truly don't know. They stand there in the ruins of Frankfurt, surrounded by the evidence of Cole's genius, and both understand that genius in war is curse in peace. Go home, Sterling says, when Germany surrenders. Don't stay for occupation. Don't volunteer for the Pacific. Go home to your wife and son. Meet your grandson. Figure out how to be something other than a warrior. Cole nods slowly, but his eyes say what his mouth won't, that he doesn't know how, that the skills that make him unstoppable in war are useless in peace, that he's built for conflict and doesn't know how to exist without it. Sterling grips Cole's shoulder. You're going to be fine, Marcus. You'll figure it out. He's lying. They both know he's lying, but sometimes lies are kinder than truth. Sterling leaves Frankfurt that afternoon, flies back to Chaff headquarters, stares out the window at Germany passing below, thinking about warriors and what happens to them when wars end. Crawford sits across from him. Sir, if I may, that was the right thing to say to General Cole. Sterling doesn't respond immediately, just watches Germany scroll past below. James, Sterling finally says, I just told Marcus he makes the impossible routine, but the truly impossible thing? Watching a warrior realize his victories won the war, but cost him peace. What do you mean, sir? Sterling closes his eyes, sees Cole standing beside that captured staff car, mask dropped, vulnerability showing. Marcus Cole is the finest combat commander I've ever known. He's also the most lost man I've ever met. He's 59 years old. He spent 42 years as a soldier. War is the only thing he knows, the only thing he's good at. Sterling opens his eyes, and in a few months, the war will end, and Marcus will have to face 40 years of peace with no idea who he is without war to define him. Crawford is quiet for a moment. Can we help him, sir? I don't know, James. I honestly don't know. The plane flies on. Behind them, Frankfurt smolders. Ahead, SHAEF headquarters waits with more reports, more decisions, more impossible demands on limited resources. But Sterling's mind stays on Cole, on the warrior who makes the impossible routine, on the man who will be lost when there's nothing impossible left to do. May 8th, 1945. Victory in Europe Day. The war is over. Germany has surrendered. Allied forces occupy Berlin, Vienna, Prague. The Third Reich is gone. The nightmare is finished. Third Army headquarters in Bavaria erupts in celebration. Men who survived years of combat embrace. Champagne liberated from German stores flows freely. Someone finds a piano. Songs rise into evening air. Captain Daniel Reed, recently promoted to major after the Frankfurt operation, finds General Cole on the balcony of their headquarters building, away from the celebration, staring at mountains in the distance. The promotion ceremony had been brief. Sterling himself pinned the oak leaves on Reed's collar 3 days ago, citing his reconnaissance work that saved 4th Armored Division from ambush. Reed protested. Morrison deserved equal recognition. Cole ensured Morrison received a Silver Star. But now, standing on this balcony, ranks and medals feel distant. "Sir," Reed says, "we did it." Cole turns. His face is blank. Not happy, not sad, just blank. "Did we, Daniel?" Reed doesn't understand. "Sir, the war is over. We won." Cole looks back at the mountains. His hands grip the balcony railing tight enough that knuckles turn white. Then what happens now? The question hangs there. Reed doesn't have an answer, because for the first time since he met Marcus Cole, he realizes his general is genuinely lost. The celebration continues behind them, men laughing, singing, celebrating survival and victory and the end of fear. But Cole stands apart from it, watching mountains like they might have answers written in their peaks. "Sir," Reed tries, "you should join them. You earned this celebration more than anyone." Cole's laugh is hollow. Earned it by doing what exactly? By being good at killing? By being efficient at destruction? By making boys into soldiers and soldiers into casualties and casualties into statistics? That's not what you did, sir. You saved lives. Your speed, your tactics, they minimize casualties while maximizing effectiveness. Cole turns to face Reed. His expression is raw, unguarded, the mask completely gone. "Daniel, I know how to cross rivers. I know how to outflank positions. I know how to coordinate armor and infantry and artillery into combined arms operations that break enemy resistance." He pauses. "What I don't know is how to be a father to a son I abandoned for 3 years. How to be a grandfather to a boy I've never met. How to be a husband to a woman who deserves better than letters and absences." Cole's voice drops even lower. "I don't know how to be a man without war to define me." Reed feels something break in his chest, because he's watching his mentor, his father figure, his general, completely lost. "You'll figure it out, sir. You're the smartest man I know." Cole smiles sadly. "Tactics are easy, Daniel. Terrain, enemy strength, weather, objectives. Variables you can calculate. But peace, family, purpose when there's no enemy to defeat, those don't have tactical solutions." The celebration inside grows louder. Someone starts singing. Others join in. The sound of men who survived hell and came out the other side. Cole and Reed stand on the balcony, apart from it all. "Your father would be proud of you," Cole says quietly. Reed's throat tightens. "You're more of a father to me than he ever was, sir." Cole looks at him. Really looks at him. And Reed sees gratitude and pain and something that might be love in his general's eyes. "Then don't be like me, Daniel. Go home. Live. Find a woman who deserves you. Have children. Build something that matters in peace the way you built victories in war." Cole's hand grips Reed's shoulder. "Promise me you won't make my mistakes. Sir, promise me." "I promise," Reed says. They stand there while the celebration continues behind them, and darkness falls over Bavaria, and the war ends but doesn't quite finish for some men. June through November, 1945. Occupation duty. Third Army's role shifts from combat to control, governing German territory, maintaining order, processing remaining prisoners. The work that comes after victory. Reed watches Cole deteriorate. It's subtle at first. The general drinks more. Not to excess, never quite to excess, but more than before. He's restless. Can't sit still in meetings. Gets up and paces. Stares at maps that no longer show enemy positions because there is no enemy anymore. Cole starts arguments with staff officers over trivial matters, logistics procedures, report formatting, things he never cared about during the war. Reed realizes Cole is picking fights because fighting is what he knows. Even administrative fights are better than the emptiness of peace. In August, Cole's wife visits. Reed sees them together once, walking in the garden of the commandeered manor that serves as headquarters. They're not touching, walking parallel but separate, like strangers who share history but not present. She leaves after 3 days. Cole doesn't mention it. In October, Cole's son visits. 14 years old, gangly, awkward, trying to talk to a father he barely remembers. Reed watches them attempt conversation in Cole's office. The boy talks about school, baseball, normal things. Cole nods, asks questions that sound interested but feel hollow. The boy leaves after 2 days. Reed sees Cole watching his son's car disappear down the road. Sees his general's shoulders slump. Sees defeat on a face that never showed defeat during the war. That night, Reed finds Cole in his office, drunk. Not staggering drunk, but past the point of hiding it. "I don't know him, Daniel," Cole says. "My own son. Sat across from him for 2 days, and I don't know him. Don't know what he cares about. Don't know what makes him laugh. Don't know how to talk to him about anything that matters." Cole pours another drink with hands that shake slightly. "I can tell you the optimal approach angle for assaulting a fortified river crossing. I can calculate fuel consumption rates for armored divisions conducting pursuit operations. I can coordinate 3 corps across a 100-mile front." He looks up at Reed with eyes that are lost. "But I can't talk to my own son." Reed doesn't know what to say. What can anyone say to that? "Sir, maybe you need to go home. Spend real time with them. Not visits. Real time." Cole nods slowly. "Maybe. Maybe." But Reed can hear the doubt. Can see Cole doesn't believe it will help. Doesn't believe he can bridge the gap that 3 years of absence and 40 years of soldiering created. November 1945. Cole receives orders reassigning him stateside. Occupation duty complete. Time to go home. Reed helps him pack. 3 years of war fitting into 2 footlockers and a duffel bag. Not much to show for campaigns across North Africa, Sicily, France, Germany. "Sir," Reed says, "what will you do?" Cole stares at his packed belongings. "Go home. See my family. Try to figure out how to be civilian Marcus Cole instead of General Marcus Cole." He looks at Reed. "Daniel, thank you for everything. For being the son I should have been present for learning what I taught, for not making my mistakes." Reed feels tears threatening. "Sir, you're not saying goodbye. You're going home. You'll write. You'll visit." Cole smiles sadly. "Sure, Daniel. I'll write." They both know he won't. Not really, because Cole doesn't know how to maintain relationships that aren't bound by military hierarchy and shared purpose. Reed watches Cole's car leave headquarters on November 28, 1945. Watches it disappear around a corner. Knows somehow that he's watching his general leave, but his mentor's already gone. December 9, 1945, near Mannheim, Germany. Cole's staff car travels a road outside the city. He's still in Germany. Delayed returning stateside by administrative matters. Processing final reports. Closing out Third Army's combat operations officially. But really, Reed thinks later, Cole was delaying the inevitable. Putting off the moment he'd have to go home and face what home means to a man who doesn't know how to be there. The staff car is traveling too fast. Cole always travels too fast. Speed is his answer to everything. An army truck pulls onto the road ahead. Standard 2.5-ton transport, moving supplies between depots. Routine operation, nothing unusual. Except Cole's driver doesn't see it in time. Or maybe Cole is distracting him, talking, gesturing, Or maybe it's just bad luck. The confluence of minor factors that creates tragedy. The cars collide. Not a catastrophic crash, just an impact. Metal crumpling, glass breaking. The physics of momentum meeting immovable object. Cole is thrown forward. His neck impacts the seat in front of him. The angle is wrong. The force is wrong. Everything is wrong. When they pull him from the wreckage, he's conscious but can't move. Paralyzed from the neck down. Spinal injury. The kind that medicine in 1945 can't fix. Reed gets the telegram in Bavaria, rushes to Mannheim, finds Cole in a military hospital, lying in a bed, staring at the ceiling. "Daniel," Cole says when Reed enters. His voice is weak but clear. Reed pulls up a chair, tries to find words. "Can't. I can't move," Cole says. "Can't feel my legs, arms, nothing below my neck. Doctor says the damage is permanent." Reed's throat is too tight to speak. Cole turns his head slightly. It's the only movement he has left. "Funny, isn't it? I survived 3 years of combat, crossed rivers under fire, advanced through minefields, led armored assaults, and I get taken out by a traffic accident on a routine drive." There's no humor in Cole's voice despite his words. "Daniel," Cole continues, "you need to know something. You need to hear it from me." Reed leans closer. "You were more son to me than blood ever made. These past 2 years, watching you learn, watching you grow into the officer you've become, that was the best thing I did in this war. Not the victories, not the prisoners captured, not the ground taken. You." Reed can't stop the tears now. "Sir, let me finish," Cole says gently. "Go home, Daniel. Don't stay in the army. Don't make it your whole life. Go home. Find a woman. Have children. Build something that lasts in peace. Learn from me. Learn what not to do. I don't know if I can, sir. You can. You will. Because you're stronger than me. You're not broken by war. You can still be whole in peace." They sit in silence. Reed holding Cole's hand, even though Cole can't feel it. Both of them understanding this is goodbye. "Tell William," Cole says. "Tell him he was right. Men like me don't get happy endings. But maybe that's okay. Maybe some of us are meant to burn bright and burn out, as long as we light the way for better men." Cole closes his eyes. "I'm tired, Daniel. So tired." Reed sits with him until Cole falls asleep. Sits longer after that, watching the rise and fall of his general's chest, knowing these might be the last hours they have. December 21st, 1945. Marcus Cole dies. Officially, the cause is complications from spinal injury, blood clots, pneumonia, the body shutting down when the will to fight is gone. But Reed knows the truth. Cole died because he couldn't be what peace required. Couldn't adapt, couldn't transform from warrior to man. The accident just made it official. The funeral is military, full honors, flag-draped coffin, 21-gun salute, taps played by a bugler who never met Cole, but plays like he understands loss. Reed stands at attention while they fold the flag, while they hand it to Cole's wife, while she accepts it with dry eyes because she buried her husband years ago when he shipped to Europe. This is just the body catching up to the reality. Cole's son stands beside his mother, 14 years old, trying to grieve a father he never really knew. Reed's heart breaks for him. General Sterling delivers the eulogy. "Marcus Cole was the finest combat commander I ever knew. He made the impossible routine. He saved thousands of lives through speed and aggression and tactical brilliance that doctrine hasn't caught up to yet." Sterling pauses, looks at the coffin. He was also a man who understood war, but never quite understood peace. Who gave everything to victory, but didn't know what to do with it afterward. We honor his service. We mourn his loss. We learn from both. They lower Cole into the ground at Arlington, row upon row of white headstones, warriors at rest. Reed salutes as the coffin descends, holds the salute long after others have dropped theirs, saying goodbye to his general, his mentor, his father by choice. "Goodbye, sir," Reed whispers. "You made the impossible routine. Now rest." Spring 1947, Command and General Staff College, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Major Daniel Reed, now instructor, stands before a classroom of captains and majors, officers learning doctrine and tactics and how to command. Today's lesson is the March 1945 offensive. Third Army operations from Rhine crossing to Ruhr encirclement. Reed displays maps, shows arrows, explains logistics, discusses tactics. But then he adds something the textbooks don't include. General Cole understood speed saves lives, Reed says. His tactics achieved objectives ahead of schedule with minimal casualties. The numbers prove it. 7 prisoners captured for every American casualty. Unprecedented ratio. Reed pauses, looks at his students. But what the textbook won't tell you is the cost General Cole paid personally. Every decision haunted him. Every casualty he carried. Every hour gained meant a choice between bad options and worse options. He bought your futures with his peace. The students are silent, listening. Study his tactics, Reed continues. Learn his methods. But understand the burden too. Command isn't glory, it's weight. And some men carry so much weight they can't put it down when the fighting stops. After class, Reed walks to his office, pulls out a box he's kept since Germany. Cole's personal effects. Things the family didn't claim because they didn't know what to do with them. Inside, Reed finds a journal. Cole's private writing. Things he never shared with anyone. Reed opens it, reads. March 29th, 1945. Entry written after Sterling's visit. Daniel asked what I fight for. Truth is, redemption. Not for slapping incident. For all the years I chose war over family, duty over love, victory over presence, I can't undo that. But if my methods save even one father from dying before meeting his son, then maybe I'm not just a warrior. Maybe I'm worth remembering. Reed closes the journal, sits in silence, understanding something he didn't understand at Cole's funeral. Cole knew. He knew he was destroying himself, knew he was sacrificing personal happiness for military effectiveness. And he did it anyway because he believed the trade mattered. Reed picks up the phone, calls information, gets a number, dials. A woman answers. Reed recognizes the voice from that brief visit in Bavaria. Mrs. Cole, this is Daniel Reed. I served under your husband. There's a pause, then. Yes, Major Reed. I remember. Marcus spoke of you. Ma'am, I have something of your husband's. His personal journal. I think your son should have it. Another pause, then quietly. That's kind of you, Major. But I don't know if he wants to know his father that way. Ma'am, with respect, I think he deserves to know his father at all. The journal shows a man who cared deeply, who made hard choices, who understood what he was sacrificing and why. The line is quiet. Then, all right, Major Reed, send it, and thank you. Reed packages the journal, includes a note. Your father was the finest commander I served under. More than that, he was a good man trying to do right in an impossible situation. This journal shows his heart. I hope it helps you know him as I knew him. He mails it. Doesn't know if it will help. Doesn't know if anything can bridge the gap years created. But he tries. Because Cole would have tried. Because some debts can never be repaid, but must be honored anyway. 6 months later, October 1947, Reed receives a letter from Cole's son, now 15 years old. Dear Major Reed, thank you for sending my father's journal. I read it again. I'm reading it a third time now. I spent 3 years angry at him for being gone, for choosing war over me, for being a general instead of a dad. The journal doesn't erase that, but it helps me understand. He knew what he was giving up. He hated it, but he thought it mattered. Thought saving other fathers was worth sacrificing his own fatherhood. I don't know if he was right. Maybe nobody can know that. But I understand now that he loved me. Even when he couldn't show it. Even when war took him away. He loved me. That has to be enough. Thank you for giving me that. Respectfully, Michael Cole. Reed reads the letter 3 times. Feels something settle in his chest. Not peace exactly, but something close. Cole's sacrifice wasn't for nothing. The lives he saved, the methods he pioneered, the doctrine that came from his operations, the son who finally understood his father. Not nothing. Present day. Arlington National Cemetery. An old man walks slowly between white headstones. He's 85 years old. Moves carefully, but his back is straight. His eyes are clear. Major General Daniel Reed, retired. Teaching career spanning 25 years. Author of 3 books on armored warfare. Consultant to Pentagon during Cold War. Husband, father, grandfather. He carries a photograph. Third Army crossing the Rhine, 1945. Young faces that stayed young forever. Reed reaches a specific headstone, stands before it, reads the inscription he's read 100 times. Marcus Cole, General, United States Army, 1886-1945. Warrior. Reed places the photograph at the base of the headstone, salutes, a voice behind him. "Excuse me, did you know him?" Reed turns. A man in his 60s, lieutenant colonel's insignia, family resemblance unmistakable. Reed smiles. "You must be Michael's son." The man nods. "Lieutenant Colonel James Cole, I'm his grandson." Reed extends his hand. "Daniel Reed, I served under your grandfather." James shakes hands. His grip is firm, military, then gestures at the headstone. "I never met him. He died before I was born. But my father talked about him, showed me the journal you sent, told me you were the one who helped him understand." "Your grandfather was the finest commander I ever served under," Reed says, "and a better man than he gave himself credit for." James looks at the headstone. "My father became a lieutenant general, you know, retired in 1985. He used to say he spent his whole career trying to live up to a man he barely knew." Reed nods slowly. "Your grandfather would be proud, not just of the rank, of the man your father became, of you." They stand in silence. 2 generations removed from the war, but connected by legacy, by sacrifice, by the understanding that some men burn bright and burn out, lighting the way for others. Reed speaks quietly. "Your grandfather made the impossible routine, but the truly impossible thing, he knew what it would cost him, and he paid it anyway, because he believed some things matter more than personal happiness." James considers this. Was he right? Reed looks at the headstone, thinks about all the lives Cole saved, all the fathers who came home because Cole moved too fast for Germans to kill them, all the soldiers who lived because one general understood speed saves lives. "Yes," Reed says, "he was right. Even though it destroyed him, he was right." James pulls out his phone, shows Reed a photo, a young man in West Point uniform. "My son," James says. "He graduates next year, wants to be a tanker, says his great-grandfather pioneered armored doctrine that's still taught today." Reed smiles, feels something warm in his chest. Legacy isn't just what you do, it's what continues after you're gone. Your grandfather would like that, Reed says. Not that his great-grandson is following his path, that he has the choice to follow it, that we want a world where choices like that exist. They stand together at Cole's grave. 4 generations, warrior, teacher, commander, student. The unbroken line of service that Cole started without knowing where it would lead. Reed salutes one final time. Whispers words only he and the headstone hear. "Rest easy, sir. Your impossible became routine, became doctrine, became legacy. You're still winning battles, still saving lives, still mattering. That's all you wanted. And you got it." He turns to leave. James walks beside him. Behind them, the photograph remains at Cole's headstone. Young men crossing a river in the dark, making the impossible routine. Reed walks through Arlington, past thousands of headstones, thousands of warriors who burned bright and burned out. Each one a story, each one a sacrifice, each one a choice between what's easy and what's necessary. Cole chose necessary, over and over, until it killed him. But standing here, watching James Cole walk toward a car where probably his son waits, Reed understands something he didn't understand at the funeral. Warriors don't survive for themselves. They survive through what they create, what they teach, what they make possible. Marcus Cole died in 1945, but what he started continues, in doctrine, in tactics, in every armored division that moves fast because Cole proves speed saves lives, in sons who understand fathers they barely knew, in grandsons who serve with pride, in great-grandsons who wear the uniform because somewhere in their blood runs the legacy of a man who made the impossible routine. That's immortality, not living forever, creating echoes that never stop. Reed reaches his car, looks back at Arlington one last time. Thousands of white headstones in perfect rows, an army at rest. But not really at rest, because what they died for lives on. Because sacrifice isn't measured in what you lose, but in what others gain. Reed drives away, carries Cole with him the way he's carried Cole for 72 years. In memory, in lessons learned, in understanding that some men are built for war and destroyed by peace, but their destruction lights the way for others to build peace worth having. That night, Reed writes in his own journal, the one he'll leave for his children, his students, anyone who wants to understand. General Marcus Cole captured 956,000 prisoners during World War II, more than any other Allied commander. He did it while moving faster than supply lines could keep up, while operating outside doctrine, while making the impossible routine. But his greatest achievement wasn't tactical. It was teaching one captain that command means burden, that victory costs, that warriors sacrifice themselves so others don't have to. I was that captain, and I spent 50 years teaching what he taught me, passing on the weight, making sure his sacrifice continues to matter. If you read this, know this. The warriors who don't survive peace aren't failures. They're foundations. They burn themselves to light the way. They sacrifice their own futures to create yours. Honor them not with words but with lives worth their sacrifice. Reed closes the journal, looks at photos on his desk, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, the life he built because one general showed him how to carry burden without being destroyed by it. Outside stars emerge, same stars that shone over Germany in 1945. Same stars Cole stared at, wondering what came after victory. Reed knows now. What comes after victory is responsibility, to remember, to honor, to ensure the sacrifice wasn't wasted. He turns off the light, goes to bed, dreams of rivers crossed in darkness and impossible things made routine, and warriors who burn bright enough to light the way for generations unborn. And in Arlington, on a headstone beneath stars, a single word captures everything. Warrior, not general, not hero, not legend, just warrior. The only title Marcus Cole ever wanted, the only title that mattered, the one that made the impossible routine, the one that saved thousands, the one that destroyed him and saved others and continues echoing through decades because some men are built to burn, and their light never dies. It just passes forward, forever.